3 years. Sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so you are going to be behind bars for 3 years, which don't make any sense, because at this point, of course, the person needs help, not to be put behind bars. So, but however, thankfully, before 2024 or somewhere in 2023, the bill was passed into an act, so the Amendments Act. But however, under the Amendments Act, abetment still remains a first-degree felony, which I explained that the punishment could be between life or any lesser term, according to the discretion of the judge. And then, however, the good news about it is that the Amendment Act decriminalized suicide. And it states that a person who attempts suicide shall be considered to have severe mental disorder, and the provisions of the Mental Health Act 2012, Act 846 shall apply. Personally, I think this is a step in the right direction. But then again, I wonder from here, what's now we've decriminalized suicide, what next? In my view, I think what we need is a collective effort. We need collective efforts from the governments, from healthcare professionals, advocacy groups, you and I, like the conversations we are having. We need to move the conversation forward. Okay, we need to move the conversation surrounding mental health, and then, be kind, be a safe space for people to talk to, be, also have someone you can talk to when you're going through something, and then join conversations like this. And I'm particularly glad that we are all here today to further discuss. And that's the little I have. And thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Counsel. Before you take rest, let me come in here again. Using the current state of whether it is a law or it's an act, whichever way it is, you use a lot of legal words to describe, and you went into the act, you went into the constitution and a whole lot. In a layman's term,
all right.
Today, if I happen to see someone trying or attempting to commit suicide, and the person confesses to that, and I invite the police in, what are the necessary steps? Or I invite anybody comes, it became a police case, and the police comes in to come and maybe make an arrest or something. What are the necessary steps, like legal steps that needs to be taken?
Okay, so you are saying if someone tries to commit suicide or someone abets?
Someone tries. Maybe the person I don't know, let's say the person attempts to commit suicide, attempts to commit. In an attempt, let's say people chanced on him or her and was able to get her off it or get him off it.
Okay.
And what does the law say about the way forward?
Okay. So, like I said, the old position would have been that, which is now repealed, or which is no longer in force. Let me put it that way. The position would have been that the person would be arrested and then put behind bars for a term of either 6 months to 3 years, depending on the judge's discretion. But now, after the amendment of that's the act, the position now is that they would give the person help. So instead of reporting, I don't think the police wouldn't put the person behind bars. What they would do is rather give the person some help. Maybe check the person into a mental health facility. But I don't want to go too deep into that because I think Mr. Jones would cover that area. So I was just talking about the law aspects, where it was first criminalized and then now it is decriminalized. And I'm sure Mr. Jones will handle the other parts.
Okay, all right. So, Prof, so what are the statistics on suicide, especially pertaining to Ghana? Like in Ghana, what's the statistics on suicide?
All right. Before I go there, please, I think you should just call me Jones. I'm not yet a prof. I'm not yet a prof. So you can just call me Jones. That will be fine by me. Okay.
I hear you,
Yeah,
sir.
and then I also want to let's make some corrections. Now, based on the position of the law, there are some terminologies we no longer use when we are talking about issues around suicide. Like you say, commit. You know, I'm sure counsel will bear with me that if you say somebody has committed a crime, that's a legal issue. So we no longer say that the person committing suicide, but the person died by suicide. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to ask anything around somebody who has actually died by suicide, let's say dying by suicide instead of to say that committing suicide, because once you use the word commit, it makes it an illegal act which can be criminalized. But now it is no longer so. So let's be intentional about the words that we use when we are talking about issues of suicide. Okay, so talking about the statistics, the figures are actually overwhelming. I really, really overwhelming, and that is why we are all that's why we are here to discuss or talk about it, because the figures are really, really overwhelming. And per the WHO figures, these figures that I will be mentioning are from WHO, that, or if you visit their site, you should be able to get. So currently, per their statistics, or from the fact check from WHO worldwide, in a single year, we having 726,000 people taking their own life. And it's also, the report is also saying that there are many more people who make suicide attempts. So aside, these are people who actually took their lives, or people who die by suicide in a year, per WHO's figures, 726,000. Imagine the number of people who are dying by suicide. And aside this, these are people who actually completed it. But aside this, there are a number of people who actually attempting this suicide we are talking about. So that they try doing it and didn't succeed. But those who succeeded, 726 world or globally. And then if you should take our context, which is in Ghana, for instance, per the Mental Health Act, which was also recorded by the WHO statistics, I think 1,500 people in Ghana yearly try to attempt suicide, or some even complete these suicide tendencies. And these figures have, just in a single year, 1,500 people. And per the statistics, I say that one person dies in every 40 seconds when it comes to suicide. So as we are speaking now, in 40 seconds, somebody is dying by suicide. In 40 seconds. So you could imagine the gravity of the situation you're talking about. And then looking at the number, the age group, we are saying that suicide has become the single most important cause of death, or the second, talking about the causes of death, the second most important cause of death among the ages of 15 and 29. So between 15 and 29, what causes death with these people? The second top cause of death between people of 15 years to 29 is suicide. And that is why we're having this conversation. Somebody may say that, oh, usually suicide happens in the developed countries, but no, per the statistics and the report by the WHO, it is not like that. They are saying that 2/3 of suicide happens in lower to middle income countries, and that's in percentage, you're talking about 73% in lower and middle income countries, of which Ghana is part. So by virtue of being in Ghana alone, put you at risk of this unpalatable situation. So it's an overwhelming situation. Yes, it's an overwhelming, but per the statistics or the research too, we are now, from the research done by people, the evidence that is there has shown that 98% of these situations were actually have mental health underlying situations, and particularly with depression. So the 98% of people who die by suicide had depression, or a depressive condition. So now this brings to the situation of the decriminalization and criminalizing of suicide. So if I'm sick, if I'm depressed, and I'm going through a symptom, then you arrest me and go and put me behind bars. What if someone has hypertension? Why don't you arrest the person and go and put behind bars? If somebody is having malaria, why don't you arrest this person and put behind bars? It's the same way as saying that someone who is contemplating suicide is depressed, and depression is a mental health condition. So the person suffering from a mental illness should rather be given support, should be taken through treatment instead of putting him behind bars. Because if you put the person behind bars, the situation will just go worse. And also per the statistics as well, they're taking like 3 times more attempts in women and 4 times more deaths in men. So women attempt more, but men complete it more. So you see a lot of women attempting to take their own lives, but some majority may not complete it. However, men are at a higher rate of completing it. So if a man decides to die by suicide, they try to find every possible ways to ensure that it happens. Women equally die by suicide. However, some of them may not end up completing it. But the men, per the statistics, are 4 times more likely to die to this suicide than women. Yes. And but see, the interesting thing is that 4 out of 5 of these situations could have been prevented. Because the signs and symptoms usually they are very clear, but just that we are not able to see them. So we are saying that 4 out of 5 suicide deaths could have been prevented if someone were to be there, if someone were to give the listening ear to the fellow, if someone were to be paying attention to the warning signs that were there, these things should have been prevented. So these are some of the statistics that we may be looking at. So in Ghana, in a situation, I'd say 1,500 people die by suicide yearly in Ghana. And globally, they're talking about 726,000 people, and many more attempting to take their own lives.
And this 1,700 you're talking about are those that are recorded.
Exactly. These are the ones that are recorded.
Yes, but there are a lot more that we don't even hear of. All that people may say is that the person is dead. Yes. As to whether the person died out of suicide or not, one cannot tell. Exactly. Okay, so this year's theme, I'm sure has a lot to do with the law, which became, like Elionam said, became topical in Parliament when it was repealed, if I may put it that way. What does the theme for the year celebration aim to achieve?
Okay, actually, I wouldn't call it a celebration because we're actually not celebrating people dying by suicide. It is actually an avenue where we create awareness that people should pay attention to their fellows, to know that this thing is there. People attempt suicide in every 40 seconds. Somebody is dying by suicide. So the day or the week is there to create awareness. So I personally, a lot of people talk about celebration, and I don't fault them. But personally, I wouldn't look at it as a celebration. We celebrate things that are good, yes, but it is actually an avenue where we can create awareness, let people know about the situation, let people know about the statistics, and then let people know what they could have done to support. Because as we are saying, 4 out of 5 of these deaths could have been prevented. So what can we do to prevent this situation? So this year's theme, changing the narrative on suicide. So how do we change the narrative? Like Council mentioned earlier, decriminalization. So formerly it was a criminal issue here in Ghana, but now it has been decriminalized. So some of these narratives begin to change right from this place. And the team didn't just end on changing the narrative on suicide. He was saying that with a call to action, and then start a conversation or start with a conversation. So we are trying to change the narrative, and this narrative we are trying to change here. We are trying to reduce the stigma associated with suicide, because formerly was, even why do people find it difficult to report? Because of the stigma attached. Imagine being in a home where you've heard some family member has ever attempted suicide. In our cultural settings, and they'll say before you even marry from now, we need to check their history and getting to know that this person has ever tried attempting or dying by suicide. You say this home, this is how they do, so you may not want to go. So people want to hide relatives who have ever tried this thing. So as they hide them, instead of them seeking help, they wouldn't seek help. And these things continue. So we are trying to change the narrative where people can openly communicate. People can talk about things they are going through. Imagine at the time it was a criminal offense. Even if you come to the hospital and the doctor should, upon the symptoms you complain about, the doctor realizing that these are very overwhelming situations, and he or she asks you, so upon all these things, have you ever thought of taking your life? You reject that immediately and say that no, because of the fear of maybe when I say it, they may call for my arrest. Or even if you attempted it, then hey, you've committed a crime, so you should be arrested. So we are saying no, that shouldn't be the situation. And let us encourage open conversation where people can talk about the things they are feeling. People can express themselves. So we are trying to transform how we perceive the issues that surround this issue of suicide, talking about the cultural issues that are underlying it. Maybe some cultural situations, we don't even talk about it. In some homes, even once we start talking about it, they say, shut up, keep quiet, you know to talk about these things. Even in some time, based on religious background, somebody will rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Stop saying what you are saying, that you are thinking of suicide. Who tell you that's a good thing? So you rebuke the person. So the person now keeps that within themselves. By saying that, let us encourage people to talk, express themselves. So we are changing the narrative of where that culture of silence, pressing on people from opening up, talking. We are saying that no, it shouldn't be like that, but people should now feel free to talk. And then we take away the stigma that is preventing people from talking. Also, we're helping people to understand what people go through when they are contemplating suicide. You see, these are some, so changing the narrative and taking actions. So what actions are we taking? Now, individuals tend to understand people better. Get to understand that before somebody even thinks of this thing, he thinks that like they are going through a lot of challenges. Getting close to these people, listening to them, understanding them, and then offering them the help or showing them where they can go to get the needed support that they will need. Because the stigma around mental health conditions and suicide, it's a whole lot of issue that we can't even use one day to finish talking about them. So basically, the team has come to encourage us, you and I, everybody that is listening, to reduce the stigma, encourage open conversation about this thing, provide support, and then we take actions to help. It's not just about a talk, but what help can you give to somebody who is suicidal? That is what we are looking at. So some small act of kindness that you can give to someone, the little kindness, even listening to someone talk about their issues to you, paying that close attention, giving the listening ear to the person, that alone is enough to help the person regain some strength. That non-judgmental tendencies where we judge people indiscriminately, we jump into conclusions and rebuke people, some kind of punishment that could have rather been probably looked at. We end up punishing some people based on some things that they do, and because especially open rebuke, open punishment, and some of these things also happen in our religious settings, and because the person wouldn't want to face this shame, they end up trying to do some of these things. So they are saying that let us change this narrative. Let us create an environment where people can freely express themselves. Let us also create the environment which will make people not to try to engage in these acts. Yes. So, when one person dies.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Yes. The areas you are touching on are very sensitive and they are very basic and practical. Some of the areas that we find ourselves in. Let's take it one after the other. Let's look at the family and the home settings.
Okay.
For instance, I'm in the house with my daughter, 11-year-old daughter, once open the mouth and say, I want to commit suicide. Like psychologically, like just emotionally or out of shock. You don't blame me for rebuking my daughter for saying that, especially when you are coming from a religious background and the mother or the father will be like, hey, which devil, which demon?
Exactly.
Do you get where I'm coming
Exactly.
from? So where does the conversation start?
Exactly.
From the family settings?
So the conversation will now start by, instead of rebuking this child and putting that fear in the child to shut up, instead of that, he should rather be, like, get closer to this child. Why are you thinking so? Or what is making you think so? Why do you want to die? Or why do you think it is good to do this thing? So at least you've given the opportunity for the child to express him or herself. But immediately you rebuke the person, and even by saying that which demon has come to possess you, the child will want to make you understand that no demon has possessed them. So they'll keep quiet. If not, by talking, they are allowing the demon to actually have power over them. So they rather keep quiet. And these things will continue to be within them. And one day we'll hear that this child has gone to attempt this thing, or it may degenerate into other severe emotional disturbances for the child later in life. And if you're not careful, these things will come back and affect the child as well as the family. You see, so it is paying attention. So in the family or in the home system, rather creating the environment for open conversation where people can freely express themselves, rather than putting fear in them, rebuking them, or saying things that will prevent them from talking, rather worsen the situation. So this is why we are trying to change the conversation or change the narrative of how we have been handling these situations. And then through this
let's look at it.
Identify challenges.
Okay, let's look at it from the religious background as well. I can speak less of other religious group. I can speak more about the Christian religion. Today we have a lot of church owners, pastors, and a whole lot, and they attribute everything to Satan. They attribute everything to ancestral cares, a whole lot. How can we differentiate and know very well that this is more of a psychological issue than a spiritual issue?
Oh, sure. I think all religions, the Islamic traditional, none of these religions will support anyone dying by suicide. So I think even if you should go into the Islamic religion and you look at the Quran, I think Quran chapter 6, verse 151, it also forbids this. It said that, and do not kill the soul which Allah has forbidden, except by legal rights. This has he instructed that you may use it. Like, so even the Quran or the Islamic religion is actually against people dying by suicide. And the same way, the Bible or the Christian religion is also against people dying by suicide. So if you go to Exodus 20, verse 30, it talks about thou shalt not murder and all this kind of thing, not even take your own life. These are situations that are there. But you see, in all the narratives, even in the Christian religion, and you go into the Quran deeper, you realize that almost all the people that took their lives or died by suicide were actually pressed by some emotional difficulty. They were seeing themselves to be kind of affected, touched, and based on some of these things, they may want to take their own life or kill themselves. But in what happens is that because of the interpretations and these cultural interpretations that we give to certain situations, when they happen, like we are saying, what demon has come to possess you to be thinking this way. People in the church, people in the mosque, and people wouldn't want to talk about it because in the same way, because just as the Quran I've quoted right now, if you try doing this thing, it's like you are going against the Quran or the faith, so you'll be punished. And so based on that, people wouldn't want to talk about it. People wouldn't want to talk about it. And once a person didn't want to talk about it, the rebuke is coming. And everybody will start stigmatizing against you, if it's in the church. Let me talk about the church. Will be stigmatizing against you in the church. And this is a person who tried to take his life. Is it that you no longer believe in God? Is it that your faith is finished? And all those kind of stuff. Yet the person believes in God. The person has faith. But sometimes when the environmental situation becomes so tough that the person is in the church, but they are hungry. They have no food to eat. They don't have any means to pay the children's school fees. But probably they are owing someone, or they've done something that if it comes out, is going to be a whole lot of shame on them. And based on these things, they are struggling. So that's why these thoughts are coming. And don't forget that when we were talking about the statistics, we're saying that about 98% of people who attempt suicide has depression. So if this person were not to be depressed, they wouldn't have been thinking about these things or been thinking this way. So in the church or in the religious settings, sometimes some of the doings even make people to try to complete some of these things. Let's take it, a church leader who did something against the rules and regulations of the church. And what do we see? Public rebuke in the whole church. Like this person can no longer even raise their head when they're coming out. Based on the reputation that they were having before, once this rebuke comes like this, it's like they feel their being has been taken away from them. So if my being has been taken away from them, what is my body still living to do? So these things start to come out. So they are saying that instead of some of this, it is for punishment is necessary. When people go wrong, punishment is necessary. However, we should know how to go about it. Have we prepared a person's mind towards the punishment that is coming? Have we prepared a person to be able to be emotionally stable, to be able to carry it? Are we sure this thing is not going to make the person to start probably even abusing substance and all those stuff? This is where the conversation, that's where we want the conversations to start going. And not just because I've wronged, you come and disgrace me, publicly shame me. And that shame is what will make the person want to live life so that nobody will point fingers at him or her going forward. And the same way, all the religions too.
Okay, so once you're talking about religion and our religious bodies, what role do you think our religious bodies, in terms of our imams, our pastors, our religious leaders, should be playing in mitigating suicide ideation?
You see, actually, our religious, affiliations should rather be a source of hope, or should be a source of hope, a source of resilience, and then there is a source of motivation for us. So if all things are against you, we expect that you should find some solace from your religious denomination. If you're a Christian, from your church. If you are a Muslim, from your imam or whoever should be there for you. So what we're expecting is that from the religious leaders, that when people are going through situations like this, let us create the environment where, one, they can even express themselves. Sometimes based on the rules, regulations, and the criticisms and all those stuff, people even can't talk about their problems because they are scared if they say it will lead to something that will not be palatable to them. So we are encouraging church leaders to create the environment. I can talk about my church. I attend the Church of Pentecost, and I think one good thing the church has adopted that is has created a whole ministry, which is the counseling ministry. So formally, like some of these rebuke and things that we do, you no longer see them as it used to be in the past because of some of these advancements in education that is going on. So even sometimes you may see that the punishment happened, but sometimes you don't disclose the full issue to the public, which will cause this emotional pain to the person. And then we also have the counseling ministry that is available. So when people are going through situations like this, they first let the counseling team handle them. And I think when other religious groups create counseling teams in their denominations, it will help. So that when people are going through situations like this, they go for counseling, get professional help. So the churches also should also train more counselors in the church, identify people who are into this profession, bring them together and give them the necessary training. Yes, the biblical counseling or the religious counseling is there, and they should also add some of the professional counseling to it. Those who are not licensed should take license and all this stuff. So when the churches are doing these things, I think it helps to mitigate some of these challenges that will come. And the same way, not just to the Christian faith, but the Muslim faith and every other faith you can talk about. They should put in measures where people can open up, people can express themselves, and then they should also put in measures where they can get the support, give them the necessary support, emotional support that they need. Yes, so these are some few things we can encourage our church to do, so that, because if all hopes are lost, I should find hope in the church. But if the church is now rather against me, imagine how it will be. It's like now I don't have any other person. It will look like the whole world of billions of people, I'm the only one in it. No,
I don't know if you will be the one to respond to it, or council will respond to this one. With the decriminalization of the suicide, so does it mean that now it is free for people to die, like by suicide, or there's something that needs to be done, or there's something that can be done, or by law is there to help prevent such?
maybe if council would like to talk about it. But I can also attempt.
Council, okay, I think go ahead.
Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier that decriminalizing suicide, it is not a panacea for people to go ahead to attempt or die by suicide. It's not a guarantee that, oh, now it is free. And once you're thinking suicide, just go ahead and do it. No, that is not what we are talking about. The nation is concerned about its citizens. Everybody wants the best for its people. So no country will want to encourage death by suicide. So because of that, they are decriminalizing it. No. What the decriminalization actually seek to do is to rather reduce the stigma that is around it. It is to ensure or encourage people to now open up, to talk, to seek help. That is what the decriminalization of the suicide sought to do, to help improve mental health care in the country. So that when people are having issues, they can, actually, if we should randomly take even 10 people, you can just take these people just from our this webinar. Let's just sample just 10 people and go into their personal issues or their personal lives. You realize that a lot of people are going through a lot of situations that are pressing them down. But what do we see? They may not open up to talk about it. So when we create the environment where people can talk, come out and express their emotions, that rather help than making it criminal, where the person will not be scared of opening up. You see, this is what you are talking about. So it is not that go and die. Now the floodgate have been open for people to die. No, that is not what it actually means. You know, at the beginning, when this whole debate of why is it done, that was the thought of people. So it's like, I know if you should do this, people will now go and then be committing, be dying by suicide and all this stuff. No, that is not how it is. So even when it is no longer like this, sometimes, so when people even do these things, even diversion programs may come in, where probably even at the police cell stage, the police are able to identify that, no, this person is going through, because they're able to express themselves. They realize that they are going through some challenges, that some difficulties. So they divert them to what? Mental health support. They send them to the treatment centers. These are the things that will help the individual to express themselves. But if it is a criminal offense, once you get into the hands of the law, meaning your end result will be jail or fine. By you saying no, even when it happens like this, you ask counsel one question that, so what happens if you go and chance on somebody who's attempting suicide and you get to the police? So this time around, instead of the police, it is good to let the police know about it. But what happens when the police is not going to process this person into the legal system, but however, they rather help to identify or get support for this person. This is where they will now try to divert the person to a treatment center. Even the Mental Health Act also encourages this diversion process. So right from the police cells, the police will now identify maybe the psychologist, the mental health worker, to attend to this person and then help them take care of this emotional distress that they are going through. Instead of writing charges against them, processing them for court, no. So the police, they still have a role to play. It is not that now the police are washing their hands out of issues of suicide. No, that is not how it is. If you see somebody who is doing that, you can let the police be aware. But the only thing is that the police this time around is not going to prosecute this person as a criminal. But the responsibility, so the police also have a responsibility. The responsibility is that to find help for this person. As you've already said, the police is a friend. So if the police is a friend, they should also be available to provide support. Or is that not how it's supposed to be? They should be available to provide support to everyone that needs it. So this is what I would like to say about it. Decriminalizing suicide doesn't mean a floodgate has been opened for people to attempt or to die by suicide, but rather it is to promote open conversation, reduce the stigma around it, and make people seek help. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So, Counsel, do you have anything to add to this? Okay. So,
oh, sorry.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
so,
yeah, I was listening to him. That's good. The fact that it's been decriminalized does not mean that the gates have been opened for anyone who is depressed to go and, take their life or attempt suicide. Like he said, we would have to still talk about, topics surrounding mental health to just move the conversation forward and help people. Yeah, and then the Mental Health Act still applies. And so people will be given help or checked in to mental health facilities instead of being arrested or being charged with an offense. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Jones, what are the warning signs that I can identify when I see someone in such a condition? What are some of the warning signs, or myself, that I can even see that, hey, I'm getting to that state of my depression or my situation where I will consider suicide, or someone close to me may be considering suicide? What are the warning signs of suicide?
Okay, for the warning signs, they are there. There are a lot. The warning signs are a lot, which we can't even finish talking about them. But some of the petty ones or the little ones that we easily don't pay attention to are some of the things that I may want to mention. And basically, it's when people start talking about death, like almost in their conversation, you realize that they'll be talking death, and some sentence or some comment they'll be making. Maybe when I leave, then it's finished. I'll leave to a place and I'll never return. And then all this trouble will be over. Since nobody cares about me, if I'm gone, then that is it. So sometimes even from the words they use in their conversations, you can be reading the lines from those words that they use. That should be alerting that. So when people ask, even somebody just saying that I even want to die, don't take it as a joke. You know, sometimes we laugh over it and we make all sort of funny comments about it when they tell you that. But the person may be giving you a smiling face before saying that. But behind that smile, it's a whole lot of emotion that they are unable to express properly. The smile may just be a defense mechanism that they are giving. So the words they speak or saying some of these things through their conversations can be a warning sign that we can be seeing. And then sometimes the person will just change suddenly and become overly nice, giving out their belongings. But you know, the person is not like that. But all of a sudden, the person has become so nice, like just overnight, the person has become so nice, and you see you and be giving their belongings, sharing their things, their properties, and even with their engaged to even make wills. Looking for lawyers, they want to make wills and all those stuff. Within some short period, as if something is chasing them to do some of this. It can be a warning sign that, you know, this person has something going on in their minds. So these are some things that we can also be looking at. And sometimes some people may start doing things to hurt themselves. Maybe doing things that to hurt themselves. Maybe if they are drivers, they start driving carelessly, sometimes taking alcohol or substances that may put them at a higher risk of death. I know that what they are doing will hurt them. Even sometimes you can see some withdrawal. We know this person to be very cheerful. When the person comes to work, he's able to relate with everyone at work. He greets and gives a smiling face to people. But this time around, when the person comes to work, he'll just be by his or her desk. Even when it's break or time for lunch break or something like that, they are still there. They don't want to associate themselves with anybody. They are just withdrawn. If the person comes to church, the person wants to just be at the back. Once they close, they are gone. Meanwhile, previously, you know, this person, when they come to church, they want to dance, they want to at least shake hands with some few people after church. But this time around, they're no longer doing those things. Those things can be symptoms. I mean, sometimes constant expression of helplessness. The person keeps portraying that helpless tendencies. These are warning signs that we should be seeing. So that's why the main thing here is active. We should be listeners, active listeners to people who are expressing some of these things. I mean, sometimes there can be mood swings here. 1 minute they are down, 1 minute they are up, and they may not even want to eat again. Or their eating habit becomes ways that are not usual of them. These are things, and sometimes they may want to now keep weapons around themselves. So knives, guns, whatever. And some of them also may be taking overdose of medications, especially on the hospital, at the hospital facilities, on admission. This person is suffering chronic condition and they feel that they are tired. So medicines behind on their lockers and stuff, they're not careful. Once the caretakers are maybe lose concentration on them or attention on them a little, they may put a lot of tablets together and may just want to end their lives on admission. So these are things that we can be looking at to talk about some warning signs. Even easily irritated, easy aggression without maybe any cause. Sometimes it can be the opposite, where they'll be apologizing for wrongs they've not done. So the person has come, oh, I'm sorry for what happened. Meanwhile, you know he didn't offend you, but this person will come and be apologizing or apologize to people They may go on social media, record things, apologizing to the whole world, and then the typical one we see is the note. Sometimes people put clear sentences on their social handles. So you go to Facebook and you see that one of the things that they've written. Sometimes let's take particular attention about the words, the choice of words they put, because sometimes people can communicate these things clearly. Once you see it, don't rebuke the person immediately. At least if you can reach out the person personally, let us do so. Because the warning signs can be very clear on social media, on their WhatsApp status, on their Facebook, on their IGs, on their X accounts, and all the necessary media handles we can be talking about. So the warning signs are there, plenty that we cannot finish talking about. Yes, so as I said, some of them would also be doing behaviors that are not helpful. So they are actually low risk and high risk behaviors, but putting all this together, and especially the withdrawal, or now the person will not want to talk again because they talk, nobody is listening to them. So they no longer want to talk about their problems again. If you ask them what is wrong with them, they tell you they are fine. They are fine, they are fine. These can be warning signs that this person is going through situations that if God didn't come on the side of the person, they may want to take their lives by suicide. And some people will be making bye-bye statements. When they see you today, oh, bye, we will meet. Meanwhile, they're not going to the place, but they are giving you bye-bye. And you will not understand. Maybe that is the last goodbye they are giving to you. The last goodbye, and the next day you not see them again. So let us be, let's pay attention to people when they are changing, especially how you know them. If they are no longer the way you know them, let's pay attention to them. Let us ask questions. Let's make them, so they say start the conversation. Immediately you see some warning sign, start talking about it, start asking questions. And at the church, they may be withdrawn. They may be doing things that nobody will understand why they are doing those things. So our church leaders should also pay attention to their members. If good, we should have maybe people, shepherds. So we should distribute our members to people who will be paying attention to them, because the numbers are large and you as the head of the church can't pay attention to everybody. But to get people in place who can be monitoring people and be seeing how they are doing, at least checking up on them. Maybe for some time now, they're no longer coming to church because there's someone who is monitoring. They will go and pay a visit and then know what the person is going through. So these are some basic things I would like to say about it. As I said, for the warning sign, you can't finish talking about them because some probably is yet to come. We are not even aware of some of them because every people devise their own means to do some of these things. But mostly, before somebody attempts suicide, they bring out warning signs, especially through their verbal cues and then behaviors. Thank you.
Yes, I think the examples of the warning signs you gave are very practical and related. We can really, for me personally, I believe I can relate to quite recently two of them. I think the one you mentioned has to do with people's WhatsApp statuses and what they post on their social media handles. It's very, very true. I tell people that, oh, what does it mean to say status? So you say you are putting something on your status. It means that you are giving people information about your state currently. So whatever people put on their status and you see it, don't just brush through it and move. Sometimes people may be putting, especially those who be putting things that are funny or encouraging. Then all of a sudden, one day you see that a person posts something, like you are saying. You need to ask. I think one day I'm one person who hardly check on people's WhatsApp status. But once I chance on one, I go through it for some time, then I leave. But I chanced on one who is a member of my church, and I saw her post. Then jokingly, I made a comment. Then she responded to my comment. Then it started a conversation. There I got to realize that she was going through a lot. So I started engaging her. Thankfully, based on my background as a social worker, I know the basic ways of getting people to speak out and also come out with their issues so that you can also help. So I think what you are saying is very, very true. And there's another one. There's this lady who is an usher in my church. I know her very well, but like you are saying, for some time, each time I see her, she's quiet. She's not like the outgoing type who will see you and come closer and maybe ask a question or make a comment and laugh, but she's quiet. Go about her duty. When church is over, she'll be quiet. And I saw that and I approached her and I told her that when service is over, I want to see her. Then she came. So I told her that point blank, I said it to her face that I know there's something wrong with you. Then I started talking to her. Initially, she didn't want to open up. But like I said, using our experiences and our exposure, I was able to get her to speak up. So it is very, very true. And many a times when these people start talking, it is the first solution to their problem. The moment they speak out, it releases them of a lot of stress. So what you are saying is very practical, and many a times we just overlook some of these things, especially with people that we see almost every day, or we get to see most of the times, especially when there's something changing about them. We need to find out and get to know. Thank you. So what really causes suicide? Like, we'll push someone that, oh, this is the like, I know one will say it is broken heart can cause someone to commit suicide. And now the way the economy is, economic situation can cause suicide. This among many. What are some of the cases that has gotten to you that you can say that they are becoming more common in our time today that we should be mindful of, Mr. Jones?
I think the examples you mentioned are perfect examples that are causing people to contemplate suicide. The relationship issues, the economic issues, and other issues. So, especially with the relationship issues, when we're talking about the statistics, we also saw the number of the male-female ratio. We realized that more females attempt suicide more and then compared to the males. And what are the reasons? Because of these emotional issues. If you go into some of them, mainly the relationship, issues of relationship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiancé, and all these kind of stuff. So that is one major cause of these things. And then the second one, which are talking about the economic issues, the economic crisis. Look, situations can be so tough for people that they have no hope. They feel the world is crashing on them because the demands that are coming are overwhelming. So based on some of these things that are coming, they feel that there's no way out. If I'm no longer there, this demands no longer be coming. So the economic situations, it's something that can always pushing people into these things. What do we see now? Issues of unemployment is on the increase. People are completing schools with high hopes of getting job, but you finish and the job is how the expectations, let me say the expectations are not met because the person has done an accounting course, they're expecting to come out and see themselves in an accounting firm or in an accounting position, and because they're not getting it, they feel everything is against them. These are situations that make people have some of these tendencies. And then we also have mental health conditions that can also facilitate this thing. So as we say, depression, anxiety, and all the other mental health. So there can be an already existing mental health situation that will make the person prone to a situation like this. And these are some of the causes of it that come. Sometimes we're talking about genetics or based on family lines. Sometimes, yes. And then I think in a recent webinar, the PRO for Ghana Psychological Association Dr. Neumann demonstrated some neurological issues, some defects that happens in the brain. So research has made us understand that there are some neurotransmitter issues or chemical imbalances in the brain that could also make people prone to attempting suicide. So there can be these neurological issues that are there, there can be mental health issues. And then also imagine having a chronic medical condition where you are always taking medicine and all those kind of things. Like people become so tired, so frustrated. So some of these things can push them into these situations. So this could also be a cause of disappointments, relationship breakdowns, business failures. So imagine maybe you've been defrauded with all your life savings. Then somebody took a day and defrauded you. Imagine how it could feel. Someone who may want to take their own life. Abuse, both sexual, verbal, and physical abuse could make people have these tendencies to want to